Omni Insurance, and Michael Rosado, who is Director of Risk Management in Omni Insurance, will be sharing their knowledge of years of expertise in the industry. Trey, Michael, take it away.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody, for attending this afternoon and for your attention. And we really appreciate you being here. And this is about workers' comp. We'll try to make it as informative and non-dull as possible. I know you can't quite make it exciting, but hopefully you'll learn something from it. So let's start with one of the most important parts of your workers' comp policy, which is called the experience modifier. And most of you are probably aware of what this is, but this is a calculation that is done by the state every year. And it's a calculation of your premium that's paid in versus the claims that are paid out. And then that's compared to other industries, i.e. other home care agencies in the area, right? And they develop a number, it's kind of like a credit score essentially. They develop a number that ranks you. And if you're a brand new agency, everybody starts at a 1. And the goal is to lower that experience mod factor as low as possible. Because what that does is it acts as either a debit or credit to your policy. Which we'll get into some examples later, but just briefly, if you have an 80 experience mod, you're going to get a 20% discount off of your manual workers' comp rate. So, that's much more ideal, obviously, than having a 120 experience mod, which is a 20% debit or penalty on the workers' comp policy. So what we're going to kind of dive into is how the experience mod is calculated and how you can work on bringing that down. Okay, so this is really Mike's expertise because when we start talking about math, he's going to take it away.
Okay. Hope everybody can hear me. This is the old experience mod we used to work off of. The important thing about this mod, as complicated as it looks, is that there were ballast and weighting factors factored into the formula. For that reason, we were protected against extremely low mods and extremely high mods. It was a pretty good system. So that most people's mods, when we came to you guys, 1, 1.1, maybe 1.2. Fairly stable system. But for whatever reason, the state of New York decided that large companies were benefiting greatly from this system, while smaller companies were being penalized. The real reason for the new mod is the state of New York is looking for ways to generate some more income, and they are kind of penalizing the small guys. The new mod is based on the California system. So it comes up, there we are. Much simpler mod calculation. You can see that it's just actual primary losses versus expected excess losses and expected losses. Expected losses on the bottom, that's the industry average. That's what guys like you in your field, in your size group, are expected to do. Then we have actual primary and expected excess losses. Excess losses are losses that they feel are larger than you should have. And then we have the primary losses, which again that's just the total of all your losses for the last 3 years. Fairly simple. So here we have, on the new mod system, you'll have a split point. They're going to look at your policy, at the size of your agency and your industry, and determine what your larger size claim should be. And that's going to be your split point. So no claim will enter the new mod formula that exceeds this split point. Okay. And then we have expected losses, determined by multiplying the expected losses by a D ratio. That's a formula, a number that you can find on the workers' comp website. Then we have excess losses, that's the difference between expected losses and expected primary. And then we have expected losses again, that's where they expect you to be. So that simple formula has a lot of moving parts right there. Now, under this new system, there are going to be a lot of fluctuations. Guys who've traditionally enjoyed mods of a 1.1 or a 1 are going to wake up tomorrow when they come up for renewal, and they can see their mod as high as a 1.8, a 1.9, even in the 2s now. This new mod punishes frequency. So if you're not running a tight program, you can expect to see a much larger mod. The state of New York has put in a little bit of a safety buffer for guys who are going to experience a large increase from the old mod formula to the new mod formula. And if we look at your old mod, and your old mod is a 1-1. But under the new system, your mod is going to be a 1-8. What they're going to do for 1 year is they're going to take your 1.1 and they're going to add a 0.3 to it for that 1 year. So you're going to be at a 1.4. So the year after, you're going to go up. So if you guys start seeing a spike in your experience mod, it's time to start working on bringing it down. And the goal of this presentation today is to show you how we can take that simple formula. Let's go back to that for a second. There it is. And make that formula work for you. Because we can work that and we can kind of stack the deck in your favor. So let's, okay. Here we are. Okay. Here's some pitfalls. Again, frequency driven. You will see a lot of mods now in the 2.5 area. They're coming. It's predicted, the Department of Labor put this number out themselves, that there are going to be 2,600 new businesses that are going to be designated unsafe employers in the coming year. That means guys who enjoyed a mod of a 1-1, all of a sudden you're unsafe. And you're going to have to hire a guy like me to come in and say, I'm sorry, you're a victim of the new formula, now let's fix it and get you in compliance.
Let me jump in there, if you could go back to that, Mike. This code rule 59, that's what he's referring to when you become what's called an unsafe employer. That's when your mod jumps to a 120 or above. And then the state penalizes you with what's called the code rule 59, which basically requires you to go through, jump through a lot of hoops, put together a lot of safety programs, a whole lot of other stuff to certify that you're code rule 59 compliant with the state. That's what Mike and his team do, one of the things they do. But code rule 59, he's right, you're going to see a lot of agencies that were safe all of a sudden turn into quote-unquote unsafe agencies. So there's going to be a lot of fluctuations in the mods.
I will tell everybody in this room, and some people will come a little later, look for those Department of Labor notices. They're one page. Should you choose to ignore them, the state will start assessing penalties that start at 5% and continue to climb. So if you get one, you have to look, hire a consultant as soon as you can, and it's not expensive, and start working on getting into compliance. So, we're going to talk now about ways we can manipulate that formula and get your mod as low as possible. Under this new mod formula, we never fail to get surprised. We've seen mods already 1.8 to 2.2. On the flip side, we were just at an agency the other day. I saw a mod of a 0.10. That's a 90% credit on your manual premium. So we're going to show you ways to start bringing your mod down and maximize credits. And one of the best ways is light duty. Now, when you have a claim, you guys know the breakdown of a claim. A claim is two parts. There's lost time, and then there is medical. And many times when we have claims, we look at them and the medical on a claim is $5,000, but the injured employee is claiming catastrophic injury to their back. But they only saw treatment for $5,000. And because we can't accommodate the light duty, the lost time aspect of the claim continues to rise. So many times we end up with claims with $100,000 in indemnity and $5,000 or $6,000 in medical. That's why lost time is important, because we need to change that ultimate claim cost and drive down the indemnity portion of the claim, so that when we plug it into that mod formula we showed you, you're going to have a much better result. So, you want to speak on these, Trey, or just a couple of talking points? Okay, so you can see right here, based on what I told you, light duty can impact your premium cost by as much as 70%. These are real numbers. Another problem that we face is home care agencies and any other industry. When we started doing this years ago, in 1985, the max benefit on lost time is $300. I mean, we didn't care if somebody disappeared from work for 5 years. It's $300 a year max. Didn't really hurt. Today, that max number is $1,125. You're essentially paying employees to stay home and enjoy life. We can find better uses for those people. And you can see here, No light duty, we can see a claim, there's 50,000 in indemnity. That's the lost time portion versus 20 in medical. We end up with a $70,000 claim that's going to hit you on your formula. On a light duty case, where we're offering light duty in some capacity, we end up with 10,000 in indemnity, plus 20,000 in medical for a $30,000 claim. When we calculate your mod, we go back 3 years. So you can understand, even if you do 4 or 5 claims a year, we have to look at a 3-year look back. So we're going to be looking at a lot of claims, and your mod can jump pretty quickly. Okay? Now, for those of you guys in home care, you're going to look at me and tell me, what light duty can I offer? I'm in home care. We need somebody who can lift 50, 60 pounds. We need someone healthy. Essentially, somebody who doesn't look like me so much. Okay? There are options you have. The larger agencies do what's called companionship cases. When you have, if you're lucky enough to have cases where you just need someone watching an elderly person, that's a great place to transfer someone who has a very restrictive set of doctor's notes. If they don't have to lift more than 5 or 10 pounds on a companionship case, you can pay them to do these, and you negate the indemnity payments. Okay? The key here is the less the insurance company pays, the less you're going to pay for the next 5 years. Okay? Reemployability. For those of you who know me, have been in one of my meetings, reemployability is a great tool for you. Essentially, what reemployability is, if you cannot accommodate restrictions, we can find them a job in another field. You would be paying them again, but they go to work at a soup kitchen, Salvation Army, any charity we can find that needs some help and that can fit those restrictions. Now again, the benefit of that program is when you call that aide who thinks they're going to be home for weeks and collecting indemnity and is looking to retire, should they not accept my job offer, we get to cut their indemnity payments. They're no longer entitled. The key to workers' comp is if you offer them a job, there is no longer any indemnity. Okay, so reemployability is a valuable tool. I will tell you the average time in this program is about 3 weeks before that aide miraculously finds God and is healed and comes back to work, because they don't want to be folding sweaters all day or working at a soup kitchen or having somebody hang them. One of our more progressive agencies, they use injured aides for recruitment. They send these aides to malls. They set up kiosks. They have them handing out flyers. You can pay them to actively recruit. When I go to Aldi, what's the complaint we always have? You guys got the cases, but you don't have the aides. So use your injured employees where you can. Send them off to malls, send them off anywhere you can with flyers, and give them a little something extra if they bring in some cases. And we have a couple of agencies that are doing this with great success. They're finding people just hanging out at malls, they're offering them jobs, they're getting some guys coming over. Finally, the least appealing out of all the issues, but if you need to, you can bring them into the office, find them work in the office. Okay? Anything you can to keep that claim cost down is going to save you money on the back end. Okay? Again, once an employee is presented with light duties, they have 2 offers: either accept or decline. They decline, you no longer pay indemnity payments. They accept, they're not treating with doctors, and chiropractors, and anything anymore. They just don't have the time. Now what we're going to do, we're going to show you 3, this is one agency, with 3 different philosophies, and 3 different sets of claims, and 3 different risk management scenarios. And Trey's going to show you how, by embracing some sort of light duty program, you can save some real money.
Right. So I got to admit, the experience mod is really the most fascinating part of the workers' comp policy to me for several reasons. One is it has such a tremendous impact on your premium. The other is there's so much you can do to affect the experience mod. But the third reason is the stuff that you're doing behind the scenes to affect the experience mod. Me as the broker, when I'm going to sell your account to the underwriters and we have proprietary products and underwriters, you know, I have to tell a story, right? I have to tell the story of why this agency is being proactive and aggressive and has a handle on their claims and so on and so forth. And one of those stories, hopefully, is a return to work program or a light duty program. So the experience mod is just, it's such an interesting number because it impacts your premium in so many ways, and there's so many things you can do to affect it. But I just want to walk through, like Mike said, these are three different scenarios here of the same agency, and basically the same, the payrolls is the same. The only thing that you'll see different here is the experience mod. So we're going to start with the worst case scenario, a 180 experience mod. That's an 80% surcharge on top of your workers' comp manual premium. And this used to be a pretty unusual number, but like Mike said, with the new calculations, there's going to be a lot of 180s coming up, and there's going to be 190s and 2s. So you're effectively doubling your workers' comp premium, which really is just, it's unacceptable. There's no excuse for that. So you can see your annual premium, that's where the insurance company starts after they've calculated everything based on the payrolls, the discounts they apply, so on and so forth. $451, 80% penalty of $360,000, and lo and behold, you end up at almost $1 million in premium, 811. So that's not where you want to be. And there's things that that we've mentioned that will affect this, but this is obviously not where you want to be. So let's go to the next scenario. And this kind of plays, this is part of the first set of numbers that we just looked at. And you'll see here, this is the agency that has no light duty program or no return to work program. And their indemnity numbers, these are, again, the lost time wages. So the indemnity numbers, they're big. They're very big. What is that, 160, 128? I can't read it this close to something. Yeah. They're large numbers. They're large numbers. So that's a very important integral in the experience mod calculation. Okay, so let's go to the next scenario. Okay, partial light duty. They've got an experience mod of 110. That's a 10% penalty. Same annual premium, $451. This is a $45,000 penalty. Much better, obviously. But you're still being penalized 50 grand. So you end up at 496. So let's go to their partial light duty program. And you can see the effects that it has on the indemnity. Again, that's the return to work. So the indemnity here is now 80, 142, 142, and 142. So you can see they've come down a lot compared to the first agency, which had no light duty program in place. So you can see how it's starting to build and take form. Now, scenario number 3 is where you've got a progressive agency with a full-on light duty program in place, and their experience mod has dropped to a 50. Some of you might be thinking a 50, oh my God, there's no way we're going to get a 50. Trust me, with the new calculation, I have some clients that have mods of 29, 31, 39, tremendously low. So it's almost like you're getting your workers' comp for free. But you can see, you start 451. Here you're getting a 50% credit because your mod is a 0.50, so you're saving $225,000, and your premium at the end of the day is $225. So flip on to the next screen, and you can see here how the light duty program has affected the indemnity so powerfully. So the indemnity is only, what's that, $5,000? $5,000. I think the first number was 165. So you can see it has a tremendous impact on the indemnity, so on and so forth. That's what, 10, that's 25, so on and so forth. So you get the gist of it. You have 3 different scenarios, and you obviously want to end up in scenario 3. But it takes a little work, it takes some innovation, it takes putting in place some protocols and some programs, which Mike does very effectively. But it's well worth the time and effort. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. You don't want to be paying 80% extra on your workers' comp. There's just no excuse for that. Mike?
Oh, keep going, you're doing good. Section 110.
This is section 110. Okay, so section 110, a lot of you are probably familiar with this, and I know we have a few clients in here, so you've heard us harp on section 110 a lot, because it's very important. Mike's already mentioned that frequency is a big variable in the calculation. Section 110 alleviates some of that frequency. Section 110 is a state law that just says if a claim is minor, if there's been less than 2 days of lost work and 2 doctor's visits, I believe, 1 doctor's visit, then you pay it out of pocket, right? So if you pay it out of pocket, the claim never shows up on your loss history, and it never gets assigned a reserve. And the reserve is always is the worst case scenario that an insurance company assigns to that claim. And that reserve counts as what the claim will actually be calculated at. Even if they've only paid out $1,000, but it's reserved at $50,000, it's going to be counted as a $50,000 claim. So no matter how small the claim is, you don't want to report it because it's still going to be assigned a relatively high number depending on how serious it is. So you definitely want to take advantage of section 110. It's one of the low-hanging fruit things. It can save you a lot of money, it's easy to do, and it's going to keep your frequency down.
And one of the key points about 110, statistically speaking, if you allow your employees to go off to the wing for 5 days, they're going to lose 6 months because they get very used to being home very quickly. If we can fast forward the claim process and get them back to work within 3 days, then you don't have any of those indirect costs of new employees or hiring or training. 70% of the claims we manage, the employees are back to work in 3 days. We take full advantage of the Section 110 program. Okay, and then finally, we're going to talk about the importance of early claims reporting. If you like, I'll take this one for you. Okay. Sometimes it's human nature. We tend to sit on our claims a little bit. We want to let them play out. What tends to happen, unfortunately, with employees who are loyal to you and have been employees for a long time, if we're not following those claims in a timely fashion, when they go and present for treatment, they can be turned away. Emergency rooms, a private doctor, specialist, no claim number, no treatment. And what happens to your loyal employees when they're frustrated? If they can't get answers from you, they're going to go call 1-800-Jacoby-Myers, and that guy's going to listen to them or pretend to listen, and then we're going to have a lot more claim costs. So by filing early, we get to treat them early, again with the goal of returning them to work early. Faster treatment equals faster recovery. If we get them treatment early on, they're not going to tweak their back, they're not going to re-injure their foot. Our goal again is to get them back to work. Proactive. When we have the medicals, we have the power. If you're referring for medical, we get to challenge the reserves, we get to impact and direct that claim from the beginning. And that's a tremendous tool. If you allow it to twist in the wind, and you allow a lawyer to write the narrative, then we're playing catch up for the next 2 years. Okay? It's important that we be the quarterback of the team. Okay, there it is. Minimizes attorney involvement. You eliminate your injured workers' uncertainty. In today's day and age, with today's economics, people are always worried about where the next check is coming from. If we answer those questions, and we get them their claim numbers, and you put them in touch with the right people, there's no need for lawyers. Then we've laid foundations to successfully defend the claim. If you have concerns of fraud, if we have it early, we can defend and successfully controvert claims. Clear return to work days eliminates downtime and less claim exposure. Okay? We're wrapping up pretty soon, guys. I know there's a lot to do today. But let's discuss going that extra mile. Management commitment, leading from the top down. Valuing and caring for your human resources people and letting them know they count. There are people in this room I know go out of their way to compliment their human resources guys to their faces and to us every time we speak to them. They're important. They're your first line of defense. They have to be on the same page as you. I know they have bad days. I know they have a lot on their plate. But if they ignore a potential claim, you saw those mod calculations, you guys will be paying a lot of money for a very long time. Continuous involvement. Challenge your employees. Ask them what's going on with this claim. Why was it reported 7 days late? Why don't they know where the next check is coming from? All valuable questions. Setting high expectations and accountability for safety. We talk about walk the talk again, and proper behavior from your leadership, top down. Providing resources to affect change, and encouraging employee involvement. If your HR guys have some comments or concerns, or ways to fix stuff, or even broker engagement, get your broker engaged and help them come up with programs to fix your current program. Resources stuff, all important stuff to help mitigate your losses. When we try to challenge your claim, the first thing the carrier tells us is, well, what's that agency have in writing? And if it ain't in your handbook, I can't use it to defend you. So I hear from all of you all the time, we have a policy, they're not allowed to drive their own cars. Well, my next question to you will be, can I see that policy in writing? And if I can't provide it, the carrier's going to pay your claim. So make sure your handbooks are up to date. And by the way, Progressive Brokers have plenty of handbooks for you. Our current handbook is about 140 pages long. We cover everything, including walking shih tzus and walking in the snow. We got everything on the picture. Okay? Background checks, orientation on safety. Those are important meetings. The more you mention it, the more your people are aware of it. Enforce employees to follow safety rules. That's important also. When you have workers' complaints, and somebody was doing something that in your mind was a little bit on the boneheaded side, if you don't use that opportunity to write them up and correct that action, guess what's going to happen in 6 months when they return to work? They're going to do it again. And you're going to have no recourse because you didn't write them up the first time. Start that paper trail, corrective action, corrective training. You get a couple of those on the books, nobody can sue you for firing that person. Anybody here 1199? Oh, I see 1, 2, 3. 1199 has a policy that really hurts employers. I think they're up to 4 strikes. All right? You have to have someone who basically hurts themselves every week for a month in order to get rid of that employee. But 1199 will not challenge a termination if you've done everything by the book. You write everybody up. You start with a verbal, you move to a written, then again with a written for the third, and if they violate a fourth, and you did everything by the book, I promise you, we've never had a situation when an 1199 delegate shows up for the termination. If you can provide the paperwork and you can prove that you did everything by the book, you can terminate without 1199's involved. Okay. Here's a summary. You guys are off the hook. Light duty works. Take advantage of the Section 110 program. Mitigate your claims from its onset. The first 3 days are your cost drivers. Timely claims reporting. Let us know quickly so we can help you get it closed. The faster we have it, the faster we close it. Commitment from the top down.
If I could just, are you finished, Tony?
Yeah, right.
Okay, if I could just tie it up, because I know we got to finish up here. Tie it up in a nice bow and kind of a 30,000 foot level. As a broker, when I go to sell your account, there are 4 or 5 different carriers that write home care, and some are much more competitive than others. These are all questions that are asked by the underwriters. So if I can tell that story and prove it and have this information to back it up, it gives me that much more power to get to the best carrier, to get access to the best carrier and the best quote. So not only does all this stuff affect your mind, but like I mentioned in the beginning, it affects how your whole package comes together and how sellable it is to the most competitive carriers. So that's basically it in a nutshell. I don't know if you have more.
I will add one last thing. This is a good one. For anyone in the Guaranteed Cost Program, I'm also a Code Rule 60 consultant. Code Rule 59, we're there for you if you're designated an unsafe employer. However, if you have a mod under a 1-3, and you're not in the Code Rule 59 program, I can come in and designate you in the state of New York as a safe employer on the other side. If we designate you as safe, you're entitled to a 10% additional discount on your manual premium, and then 6% year 2 and 6% year 3. The state is squeezing you guys from all sides. Any money we can get you, and it does add up to a lot of money, helps. So go check your minds, and if you want to set up a consultation, we can start you on the road to getting that Goodwill 60 credit. Okay? If anybody has any questions, we'll take them. If not, go enjoy the rest of the conference. Okay? Thank you, guys.